And that concludes our 3-hour report on why One Direction is a disgrace to the human race. Now on to a 5-minute report on a case of suicide that occurred in Bromley.
Sponsored by
Smart Sound.
We're back with breaking news. This is where bad people go, but the scum of society that disgraces to nature. However, this is where the Burlings will not be going. 24 hours ago, or it could have been 42 hours ago, or even 42 years ago, a former employee of an Arthur Burling committed suicide. I repeat, committed suicide. Apparently, the story that is checking out is that this employee had a vendetta against her former employer, and in order to publicly humiliate him, she committed suicide. Over to you.
Bromley Court, where Mr. and Mrs. Burling have pleaded not guilty. While there is no solid evidence against them, the prosecutor has prosecuted them on the moral charges of pride, wrath, sloth, and greed. The prosecutor has tried to appeal to the conscience of the jury on the basis of an illogical conclusion that was derived from irrational evidence, which was arrived upon from an inconsequential event. Now for an excerpt from the prosecution by Mr. Khurana.
Mr. and Mrs. Burling are responsible for the death of this young woman, Eva Smith. The Burlings were responsible for her death. They might not be guilty of slitting her throat open or forcing clean fluid down her throat, but they played a hand in her death. Firstly, greed and wrath played a big part in her being fired. This was by Mr. Burling. This led her down her path. The final act was by Mrs. Burling, who, out of pride and wrath, rejected a legitimate aid application made by Miss Smith. While there were several events in between, these were the start and finish lines, and this is why the Burlings, who may not be charged with murder by this court, will be punished.
Well, we've all had our share of idealism. I had mine, and then my 7th birthday came up. Unfortunately, our quality of prosecutors is a bit depressing. What do you think, Nirvan?
He's not exactly a Harvey Specter, but I think that issue of hierarchical-based social oppression is a very real problem. There's a massive gap between the proletariat and so-called upper class. This results in the exploitation of the lower class, resulting in several cases of Eva Smiths. These cases illustrate the moral hypocrisy of the capitalist society. In Eva Smith's case, everyone worked together, functioning as a single entity that killed her. Society itself has been degrading. The upper classes have developed segregation based on the notions of philanthropy, a neglection and superiority, and assert themselves in a higher position than the lower classes. People choose to ignore.
For the rest of the news, please log on to our website, where you are unlikely to find any information pertaining to the suicide case at all. We regret to interrupt this program, but some breaking news has been released on Justin Bieber's sex change operation. Please stay tuned for more.